Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the case of Troy Jenkins out of Arizona, who was detained against his will in Chandler Regional Hospital. Very interesting live stream was recorded of that detention, and it's kind of concerning when you look at what went happen and what happened, and the fact that he was accused of having mental disabilities. He seemed to be very intelligent, but they wouldn't let him out, and he's barricaded by security guards, and they're not telling him why. There's no paperwork on why he's supposed to leave. He's not been shown any paperwork saying this is why you're not allowed to leave, and he's an adult free American. So why is this happening? So I want to get into this case, and he ended up being detained there for over a week. He was just released, and a spokesman for his family is going to get on live with me if they're able to get on here. There were some technical difficulties, but I have some video of his detention that I want to show you. But this is a very outspoken patriot that we're talking about. Troy Jenkins is an extremely outspoken patriot, Christian, anti-needles, very outspoken about all this stuff. And he's black. And the establishment absolutely hates people like that are all those things. So he and some of the people that he knows feel that he was being targeted, and that's why this happened. Not only was he detained in that hospital, but prior to that, a police dog attacked his leg, and he went without treatment. So there was an infection. He sat in the hospital, neglected in the hospital, according to family and friends. And the friend who's going to jump on is going to break this all down for us. But before we get into it, I'm going to show you this incredible video from the hospital. But first, I am going to shout out the sponsor of this video, which is Keto with Ivory. Weight management is a universal struggle. After we turn 20, this struggle becomes much harder. This is because our body's metabolism slows by as much as 4% each decade. This is why I highly recommend Keto with Ivory. This amazing powder helped me lose more weight in a short period of time than anything I've tried. Much like the keto diet, it can help elevate levels of fat-burning ketones. It helped make my weight loss easy. If you want to help support your weight loss, you'll love Keto with Ivory. Get up to 51% off for the next 24 hours by hitting that link in the description, ketowithivory.com, ketowithivory.com. That's right, guys. You can hear me all right? Cool. All right, so waiting for Troy Jenkins' friend to come on. Troy literally just got out of the emergency room, I'm told, tonight. So he's not ready to go on camera. But he was like neglected in the hospital. They finally let him out. Like, oh, sorry, you don't have a mental illness after all. And sorry, we just left you in there with your leg like that. And then so he had to go back into another hospital and actually get his leg treated, I guess. It's crazy. Anyway, get this. He lives just outside of Phoenix, where the controversial shaman who supports Trump and went to the Capitol in January and is now in solitary confinement. I've talked about this guy, Jacob Chansley. He's actually a friend and supporter of him and was very involved in him. So Troy Jenkins now, who felt he was medically kidnapped, is wondering if he was being targeted for this big Patriot connection in Arizona. Let me roll the clip for you of Troy Jenkins being detained in the hospital. This was December 3rd. He's trying to get out, after a police dog had bit him. He's trying to get out of the hospital, and security's not letting him. And they're saying there's a petition, but he's not allowed to see said petition. He's been asking for the petition for a whole day. They're not giving him the petition as to why he can't, explaining why he can't get out. So let me just roll this clip for you here.
I want to leave out of the building because you guys are threatening my life. See, they're trying to stop me from recording. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving. And if you touch me,
well, I'm on him.
You touch me, it's assault. I'm going this way, then. I'm going to go around you to the exit.
Filming my friend.
Hey, I need help, then.
The doctor's order supersedes any state law.
That is not the truth.
That is the truth.
How? The
Exactly.
doctor does not supersede the Constitution,
It
sir.
does. That's why we're here. That's why. Why would we care if you got to
So-
go home? What would we care if you went home? We don't care.
So allow
The
me to
doctor
leave.
cares. I don't know anything about you.
The doctor
The
cares
doctor
that I
does.
leave for what? Why? What is the argument with me? Why can't I leave? Why is the doctor saying I cannot leave?
Yeah, there you go.
I have no idea.
Okay,
I just
so-
got here.
Y'all all saying that there's a petition. What's on the petition, Mike?
Will, when he gets,
told to give a petition,
when he gets,
by doctor that did not.
when
So none of y'all know, okay, I've been asking for this petition this entire time and none of you guys have been able to produce
he
it.
went
You know why?
downstairs to get it. He went downstairs to get it.
To write it? To currently write it right now?
To print it out.
Okay.
Most likely.
Okay, so at this point, I need law enforcement, real law enforcement, to come escort me out of this building
Yes.
into the care of my wife and my family members. My emergency is at Chandler Regional Hospital. I am being detained and held against my will. I am trying to leave the facility on my own will. They will not allow me to leave. I was attacked at my home. Okay, I was brung here. Because of my faith, they put psych ward or whatever, psych, whatever. This, I don't have any psych issues.
All right. Yeah. So there you have it. They're saying that the doctor's order supersedes the Constitution. Stunning. Security saying that. Okay. So we have the family friend. Troy's friend is now with us. Jason Funes. Here it is. Hello. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Are you able to hear me okay?
I can, yeah. So what a crazy
All right.
incident with Troy. So you were telling me they kept him in that hospital for over a week, saying that they thought he had psychological issues and then they changed their mind.
So yeah, just to kind of maybe backtrack, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, but I got you so far. The unfortunate incident happened on December 3rd. So you're talking almost 2 weeks from the date of the canine violently attacking Troy Jenkins. So that attack was the evening of the 3rd, which is a Friday. And so he checked in officially to the hospital on the 4th.
And then
And so
they said he had psych issues. Allegedly, that's what they were telling him verbally. But he's like, where's the paperwork of like, what's wrong with him? Why do you think I have psych issues? Because I'm a proud Christian?
That's where unfortunately we're in the circumstance. Our treatment at Chandler Regional Medical Center was absolutely atrocious. You know, even as a what's called oftentimes Baker Acts, I guess it's a petition 36. It's a psych eval to make sure somebody's not a harm to yourself or others. Was weaponized against Mr. Jenkins, and they held him at that hospital for over.
Oops, looks like we lost Jason temporarily. Let me tell him we lost him. Okay, so he's coming back. There was a little article that came out. Get this, I reached out to police and the hospital. I haven't heard back yet. I'm trying to get documentation from police of what the heck was going on. But it apparently Friday the 3rd, police showed up at his house because allegedly he was preaching outside. He was speaking some he was preaching a sermon allegedly. I got to show you the one article that is out, and then we'll bring Jason back up. There's this one article online. The interesting thing is Jason says that Troy was never charged with anything by police. And when I checked criminal records in either of the counties that he would have been arrested in, I saw no criminal record in regards to this. So, but this article right here, that's this one article that's out, says that he was arrested. I'm not seeing any evidence of that. But it's saying that he was arrested due to a sermon he was preaching that caused a disruption outside his house. Very strange. Anyway, police, he lives in Maricopa, so Maricopa PD arrived to place him under arrest for disorderly conduct, but the situation escalated. When the officer went to place Troy under arrest, he tensed up and pulled away from officers. Police form said Troy was armed with a handgun with 3 magazines and 50 plus rounds of ammo, as well as one AR-15 magazine, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what we've got so far. Now, I haven't been able to get a hold of that form. I'm waiting to hear back from police on this, but I didn't see any criminal record on this. And Jason's saying, no, Troy was never arrested. In fact, he just got back home with his family, which the cover of the cover thumbnail picture of this video is the shot of Troy finally leaving the hospital. Okay, we've got Jason back on. I think I'm going to bring you back up, hopefully. Hey, are you there, Jason? Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
So you're saying he was never arrested?
That is correct. I'm gonna basically say a few things that was incorrect about that police report. As a matter of fact, it was incorrect. He was not arrested. He was never charged for anything. In fact, the fact that article is saying that gives question to the matter of potentially how and why they were dealing with Mr. Jenkins at the hospital the way they did. They were absolutely absent of medical care for his canine vicious violent attack of the canine. And so ultimately the hospital was trying to pin a psych evaluation and the necessity of a psych evaluation at the hospital. The problem with that is that you're supposed to hold somebody 72 hours against their will, up to and including 72 hours, in order to evaluate whether they're harm to themselves or others. That petition and that paperwork was never produced by the hospital, by the police department, or by anybody. And he sat with his leg rotting in the hospital for over 8 days with hardly any medical attention. Bless, I guess, the hospital Valley-wise that took his case, sent him to the for psych evaluation. Within 12 hours, they were asking, like, what are you doing here? There's no need for you to be in this situation. So the only problem with that is that they gave no medical care and attention to his leg. So
yeah, you sent me
honestly,
this,
Mr. Jenkins.
You sent me this picture of his leg. It's pretty gnarly, honestly. There's gigantic stitches. I mean, he really got bit by that police dog. It's just incredible. I guess he was preaching. If there's any truth to this article, he must have been talking loudly about God outside, and police sick a dog on his leg.
You can call and misconstrue things as much as you want. I actually had an interaction with the City of Maricopa Police Department officer that said that was a clean bite, which obviously was not. Troy is a man of God, and if he claims to Yahweh, the Hebrew name of Jehovah God, people can misconstrue that as a sermon. He's out there trying to handle a situation with a canine out and barking at him. And he's not under arrest for anything. He's not a suspect of a crime. There is clarification that I want to make on behalf of the family, is that there was an incident going on outside his residence, and so there's been a lot of crimes in his neighborhood, and actually there's been I don't want to get too personal into stuff, but there's been a home nearby the neighborhood that was arrested for sex and child trafficking.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a lot of suspicious activity. And as a man of God and as a patriot and as a father, you can understand somebody's outrage to know that that's in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So the issue I wanted to convey on behalf of the Jenkins family as well is the fact that
Oop, we may have lost you again. Well, there's another clip from that hospital I want to show because his friend who accompanied him, his wife was there as well as her female friend, and this lady is live streaming the whole thing. I've actually included the live stream link in my description, but I want to show you guys a little clip of it, and I'll bring Jason back on. This is the hospital's repeatedly threatening her and telling her to take down the live stream. So now not only can he leave, but there can be no documentation of what the hospital is doing to him while he's there because she must stop recording or she gets arrested. It's horrifying. Well, anyways, they finally go and charge her. I'll show the clip of them charging her for trespassing because she would not stop her live stream. Not only that, but then so as she's leaving, because I love this lady, she would not stop live streaming. It just continues. She holds the phone down so that it looks like she's not recording, but you can still hear everything. So you can hear as she's leaving him and he's getting left alone in the hospital to whatever the doctor wants to do to him. He is shouting out support for Trump. He's so pro-Trump. And so you'll just see this short clip here.
Here during it, but they've asked me to formally trespass you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
What's your first and last name?
Because I do not, we know Trump won. You know Trump won. Let's go, Brandon.
That's right. Let's go, Brandon. Hey.
So yeah, they're like, okay, we have to formally trespass you. And then he's like, let's go, Brandon, Trump won. And then she leaves. And then they go on to just neglect him in the hospital for a whole week. So let's bring Jason back on. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, and I was able to hear that, as soon as Troy reached out to me, I'm a patriot with a reputation of being in the middle of probably the wrong place at the wrong time, but for all the right reasons. Troy reached out to me and he said, Jason, I need your help. And I knew there was a circumstance that I wasn't aware of, but given what the circumstance was, I knew he was being mistreated regardless of how he got there. And the fact that they weren't able to produce paperwork to detain him against his will for 72, up to and including 72 hours, that window passed long before the days that he was allowed out. In fact, with the moment they took Troy out of that hospital, Chandler Regional, to Valleywise, another mental health and actual big hospital, just the behavioral health portion of it, they waited for his wife to leave the room as she was saluting and saying hello to patriots that were bravely outside, asking for Troy's release. And they moved him as soon as she left outside. Like ninjas, they try to create some situation where the security guards actually high-fived each other. And the fact that they moved Troy out of the hospital behind his wife's back.
Like, in what world do you just sneak someone's husband around? First of all, I don't know. Just first of all, you don't tell him why he can't leave, and then you don't tell his wife where you're taking him, and then you don't even treat his wounds.
No, and the bandages were kept 2.5 days at a time, basically at some points without being changed. And we're lucky we got Troy to the hospital when we did, because we had some doctors
an
and nurses
actual
saying,
hospital that treats him.
to treat him for his medical wounds. Listen, you can't slap a Baker Act or a psych eval on somebody because the canine and the officers don't know how to write a police report. So I don't know what police report's been written. I know there's out of context information in there. Listen, I'll clarify this. The wife, in fact, after talking, we did conclude that she did actually call, but it was because there was absolute mayhem outside and some issues going on with people yelling at Troy when he was outside. She was fearful for somebody attacking her husband. There was a reason he was outside, right? Mm-hmm. There were some altercations in the neighborhoods with some mischievous characters. Obviously, if you have pedo activity in your neighborhood, you're on alert at all times, right? And it's not without warrant. There was a gentleman and somebody with a scoped rifle aimed at Troy. So there was a reason police were there, but not for Troy to be bitten by a canine officer. If he clamors to God and is in a situation, honestly, this is where some things, and I spoke to yesterday, we had clarification. And the fact of the matter is the over-aggressive canine bit a man on the ground aggressively when he had a weapon in his possession, and he conceded and let himself be disarmed by the police. And then they took out tasers to attack him with a dog violently there, barking at him. When he's on the ground, he gets bit viciously by this dog. there's a lot of things to this story, but for legal and everything else, listen, they're not litigious people. We love the police. Troy loves the police, but there was actually an officer, Helene, that had harassed him and actually took Troy to jail about 6 months ago under another Troy Jenkins, and actually had him arrested for what? For being a patriot that was carrying a second. And he arrests him under the pretense, knowing that Troy Jenkins, it's Troy K. Jenkins, and he finds another Troy Jenkins, knowing that it's not him, and arrests him again at his own home 6 months before. Why? Because he's a well-known patriot. He's boisterous. This officer Helene, in fact, when he took Troy to the police station, when the supervisor found out, and I won't say the supervisor's name, was so upset, Officer Helene, and the harassment of Mr. Jenkins and arresting him, knowing that wasn't his name, that even the supervisor is the one that drove Troy back home that night from that false arrest. So there's a history with Maricopa Police Department and Troy Jenkins, and he's not on the wrong side of things.
So yeah, he mentions in that live stream that he does feel like he's being targeted for his patriotism and being very outspoken and against the establishment and against the narrative. And there's, I mean, if you Google him, this article comes up of where he just in July he was at this big anti getting it in the arm protest, and it says here azcentral.com interviewed him. Troy Jenkins, 35, was at the demonstration with a gun across his chest. He wore a shirt disparaging President Joe Biden and said the 2020 election was I can't say that word on YouTube.
Can't go there. Tell the truth.
The lawsuits claiming widespread anomalies have been dismissed, and Maricopa County audits showed votes were counted accurately. Jenkins feared that Arizona law, which outlines the measures authorities can take to isolate and quarantine individuals during a state of emergency or state of war, would be used to mandate the needle for Arizonans. Anyway, so he's all very outspoken about the elections, about the mandates, and of course I guess he's a big supporter of Jacob Chansley, who's in solitary confinement right now for his role on January 6th. And so when I was doing that feature piece on Jacob, because I focus on stories that are being absolutely smeared by the media and like twisted. And Jacob's story was obviously that way. Like the truth was being suppressed, like true raw videos showing the real him. There's algorithms to censor them out. So anyway, I was focusing in on Jacob's story to get the truth out. Went to cover a fundraiser for him in Arizona so that I could interview his mom. So as I'm filming his mom singing, I actually got video of Troy. Troy was there supporting Jacob. So I'll just roll a little clip. You can see Troy with the big dreadlocks. Bryson, what's his name? Bryson Tiller? The rapper. Sorry. Yep. The Bryson Gray. The rapper, famous rapper with the big Let's Go Brandon song. He performed at Jacob Chansley's event to support Jacob. So he was performing the Let's Go Brandon song and some other songs. And there you see Troy Jenkins, rapping along to it with the freeing the shaman shirt around his back to support Jacob Chansley. So I have that footage real quick here. Y'all take a vaccine, I'll break that hoax. Y'all want smoke, stop playing around. Trespass on my land, I'll be laying it down. Fast in advance, you don't stand a chance. I got a wall fire. So yeah, that's Troy Jenkins with the dreads there, and that was Jacob Chansley's mom at the beginning singing. She put on the fundraiser. So
and they're
anyway,
friends.
He's friends. Okay, yeah. So Troy is friends with Jacob Chansley. Bottom line is he's a huge patriot, and he's saying that since that fundraiser, he says in the live stream while he's being detained at the hospital and not being told why, that police were basically doing weird things and seeming to target him ever since that fundraiser for Jacob Chansley. So,
And it's the follow-up targeting from an initial anti-mask event or a maskless march event where he was literally arrested in front of his home under a false name of Troy Jenkins, when the police officer full well knew he was arresting the wrong officer or the wrong Troy Jenkins. And that was all harassment of a man because he's a patriot, because he's out there speaking the truth, and with other patriots, he's looked upon as a leader in his community, which he is, because he's a loud voice, just like Jacob Chansley was. He's part of this Arizona domestic extremist cabal of patriots, so to speak, because there's a target on these people's back. And it's by people that have egged a Airbnb that he actually left his home to escape to after another run-in with some BLM folks on another event. And when he gets harassed, there was even a broken window at his home days after he's in the hospital. I had to call a police report for that because somebody trucked and hit shouldered, I guess, the garage door and broke out the window. So it's not even with him in the hospital that this stops. So we're not saying it's the police. That's we are saying the police officer Helene has had a target on Troy's back, but there are those extremists in the political arena that don't like strong black men going out and being conservative against their narrative. And that's where I think this becomes a bigger issue. And just like Jacob Chansley was the patsy for January 6th, I think, why do patriots not get out and get active in the field? It's because when you are loud and you're boisterous, you get followed to your home, you get harassed by police officers, you get arrested under false pretenses. You have.
It looks like we may have lost your sound. Oh, I think you're back.
Oh, I got you. You got you.
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
So there's police officers. There's police officers that have been out of bounds previously. Okay. They said, Troy, just stay out of trouble for 6 months. All of this would go away. Guess what? They got that court case dismissed because it was obviously false just a couple, like last week or so. So what happens in front of his house? Maricopa PD has another episode with Mr. Jenkins when he's out in front of his home, and regardless of the pretenses, that dog illicitly attacked violently. They did not produce paperwork to detain him against his will, either the hospital or the police department, which are both parties who can fill this detainment against their will for psych eval. They never produced a document. So something happened in collusion with Chandler Regional Medical Center and the City of Maricopa Police Department, because they both colluded against Troy in order to shut him up, in order to keep his wife out of the situation. She was at his bedside. She called the cops out of concern for Troy. All this other bogus crap that is being put out there is maligning the family because there was an accident. If you have somebody with a scoped rifle pointing it at your husband outside and you call the cops and he's the one that gets bit by a dog, there's a problem. All right.
Wow.
So
yeah. So and I'm like I said, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the hospital. I'm not accusing the hospital of anything. I'm waiting to hear back from them, get their whole story. But the video is very concerning. You can watch the whole 40 minutes linked in my description. And the most alarming part is that the hospital security is saying, yeah, the doctor has the power to step above the Constitution. When the doctor has control of you, the Constitution doesn't matter, is literally like what the hospital security is saying. And Troy's like, no, that's not true. So I'm going to call actual police now. True. And then he called in. So actual police officers came up instead of the security. And then it took a while, but the actual police finally got the doctors to provide an actual petition, I guess, which I still haven't been able to see. But he was like, oh, you're going to go write it up right now, aren't you? You're going to just try to write up some sort of petition to prove why you're holding me here. It was very bizarre.
And Ivory, they flashed a paper in front of him. By law, even the administration in the hospital said that they had to provide that to, if not the patient, his surrogate, which is either his wife was standing right next to him and sitting there in the room, or surrogate, and I was power of attorney. and they were refusing the paperwork on that. That's another story. But the issue is that we wouldn't be in this issue if they would have just produced the document. We could have been adults. We could have understood the situation, but the fact that it was not provided. Did you know, Ivory, and this is something I maybe should have mentioned before, we just went to an amazing hospital that took care of Troy's leg after he was dismissed, right, from the behavioral health center. And they took care of his surgical site in the wound. Did you know that not even the doctors in that emergency were able to get paperwork about Troy's surgery and health from Chandler Regional? Emergency room physicians, doctor to
Chandler
doctor,
Hospital wouldn't even give his paperwork to another hospital.
Today, we've submitted request in writing, Troy's wife, because as a patient, you have the right to your own documentation and paperwork. Chandler didn't even provide that to Troy, his wife, or the doctors at this other hospital. These people were great. They were phenomenal. They took their care and time, not knowing anything other than what we were able to tell them. Because up to and including the point in time that we left earlier today, and God bless he's home. He was on IV antibiotics, and we've had nurses saying that we could have lost his leg. He wasn't supposed to follow up with a doctor for another week or two, and he wouldn't even, gotten through the night as much pain and can you imagine getting viciously bit by a dog and you have a numb leg without pain medication that you're just absolutely just trying to manage, and you have all this psychological questioning of everything, which as soon as he got to the behavioral health center, they completely shot him out the door in 12 hours and they never took care of his leg.
Wow.
How do we do that in America? You use his the necessity for psychological evaluation to at the same time ignore his medical condition. And this man could have had serious injury, could have had potential amputation. We even had a surgeon, bless his heart, go in there and say, there's compartment syndrome. There's thing with clotting that you could have had. Thank God you came in.
Wow.
Because that's why they were about to admit him to the hospital. And guess what, Ivory? This hospital, it took so much time for this. I can't stress it enough. Please take care of Troy Jenkins in a vicious attack, no matter what the circumstance was. We love our police, and it was just a circumstance that was unfortunate, but take care of this man. The fact that Chandler Regional Medical Center and City of Maricopa Police Department were both colluding to silence a man because they don't know how to write up the paperwork or get it right. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm hoping to get the full story now. Just to be completely transparent, this article, and like I said, I don't know how legitimate this article is, but this person's saying that they saw the police records, which I have not been able to get back from police. I reached out to police for these records, but according to this, now when he's a big 2A guy and he wears his gun to protest, so he had his gun out there, but I guess after he turned the gun over, he said he doesn't need a gun to defend himself or something. Where does it say that? Basically, he said that he can he did like a karate chop stance, a karate style fighting stance, and proclaimed, "I don't need a pistol to kill." So if he's being that combative with police, that could lead to an arrest. And it's saying here that he was charged with aggravated assault and resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. Now, I couldn't see any court record on that. And you said it's not true.
Correct.
That you said all that's not true. He hasn't been charged with anything.
He was never under arrest, and his Miranda rights were never read. Right?
Incredible.
Therefore, by definition, he was never under arrest.
Wow.
Where did that article get that from? Or was that the first version of the police report that they filed? I don't know.
Yeah, but the police reports
Listen,
that they're not giving it to you. They're not giving it to me so far. It's not online. Interesting. Interesting stuff.
So I just care about my friend's well-being, and the system failed. It's unfortunate that America, you can live in a country that it's transformed to that the system is weaponized against you. The harassment from City of Maricopa Police Department before this incident. Listen, there's going to be that come out about that incident event. There was so much that happened that day, and I kind of got some information incorrect. But listen, when somebody brandishes a rifle and a scoped rifle at your husband, and you call the cops, and your husband's the one that gets attacked by a canine, and when he's praying to Jehovah God Almighty, Yahweh, you accuse him of being crazy and that he's having some sermon outside. Are you kidding me? If I step in athletic stance, am I like in ninjutsu mode? You can't just say things like that.
It's crazy.
The police report have to write it whatever way it's going to benefit their butt. And listen, there was a lot of things that happened. Troy emphatically told me he loves the police. He wants to be able to work with them to be able to have better conflict resolution. And you got to put himself in a situation where he's living in a situation that's unfortunate. But when you have harassment and you have people taking weapons out at you and against you, you don't deserve to be called crazy after you get bit by a dog and held against your will at a hospital with no paperwork, with no documentation.
Mm-hmm.
They had to whisper to each other in the hospital bed to talk to each other, because every time Jasmine, his wife, left the room, they were trying to go in there and barrage him with questions to make it seem like he was crazy. So she literally stayed at his bedside the entire time.
Wow.
So
It's
Chandler,
concerning,
when
like,
Chandler
how-
doesn't release medical documentation too, that's above and beyond.
It's concerning how, concerned about psychological issues can be weaponized against people. It's just, we've seen it happen before. And his own buddy, Jacob Chansley, they called him crazy too and gave him a psychological evaluation. And it's not really true. He's actually a very intelligent person. But we've seen other people just sent off to psych institutes, and you never hear from them again. So it's concerning. But I know that, I've talked to other Black patriots who feel like they're some of the biggest targets because, in some ways, Black people feel like they are targeted anyway. And then when you're a patriot, you're targeted like crazy. And it's like, well, nobody likes you if you're a Black patriot. So it's
Nobody likes you.
times.
Nobody likes you if you don't fit into the box that they want to put you into.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, listen, this isn't about race. You haven't heard Troy, anybody pull the race card on anything. We just think a situation escalated unnecessarily. And because of the previous history with Troy and the level of harassment he's received, I think that impeded from his medical care. And we just can't have that in America. You can't say that somebody that exercises their Second Amendment is more prone to being suicidal or harm to themselves or others just because they exercise their constitutional right. That's not a way to treat patriots and people. But listen, even if you go and speak your mind at a PTA meeting against your kids wearing masks or against that thing that they put in your arm that can mess up your entire immune system, right? So if you're calling parents crazy for speaking out in front of their kids, right? And you have incidences like this, when is this going to stop? You can't just weaponize a system that's looking out for people that do need true psychological help and weaponize it against patriots because they don't fit the mold that you want. It's not just the police officers that he's getting harassment from. It is Black Lives Matter. It is outside groups that don't like the color of his skin.
Oh, we lost Jason again. Well, the bottom line is, Jason said that, like I said, Troy was able to get to a better hospital that actually treats his wounds, and then he was just released from the emergency room after proper care for his injuries. Hey, I was just wrapping it up, saying that basically you were telling me Troy was just able to come out and finally get released from an actual emergency room that treated his wounds. And that was the picture you sent me is of Troy finally coming out of the hospital today, I believe. Is that right?
That's that last part of the question.
Oh, you're. I was just saying, Troy is back at home with his wife and kids, right? Finally, after
we just got home, and I apologize for the technical issues. We literally have just been able to get him home after his several IV antibiotics. The level of pain reduced. The concerns with blood clotting and stuff were relieved after CAT scans, and he was just able to go home without medical documentation from Chandler. But guess what? The hospital that he was at gave him everything, the medical notes, his chart, his information. No problem. That's how patient care should be in America, right?
Wow.
You can't collude with the police department in order not to lower your level of care and to not give documentation to a patient when he deserves it. Now we have to go back to the same surgeon that did the surgery, that didn't visit him for 8 days. Like, now we have to wrestle that. So
Yeah, I mean, this sounds
I
like a
appreciate everybody's
lawsuit
love.
to me. It sounds like a lawsuit to me. Is he going to go after these
It's
guys?
it's stressful. Listen, I've been in the political arena. I've worked for the president of the United States. You know, I'm still chasing down, election integrity issues. And I was just at the border recently, but this one tops the cake. I mean, how the heck in America are we able to just serial harass patriots? You know, and it's just, it's the system, it's the police department, it's the hospital, but other patriots that don't, or other people that pose as patriots that target. There's infiltration within patriotic groups out here in Arizona, and Jacob Chansley and people like Troy Jenkins were the voice of speaking out for freedom and your constitutional rights against medical tyranny, against federal government oppression, federal government overreach. And now you have people like Jacob Chansley, which I think is inappropriately in jail. He was stopping a kid from stealing a muffin, for Pete's sake. How is he in jail? You know? And then you have people like Troy Jenkins, who are getting attacked by police, and now the system is weaponized against him. And when he asks for help for other issues of harassment, and his wife calls the cops because she's concerned because other things are going on, and he's on edge because he wants to protect his family, and he's the one that gets bit by a canine that's supposedly a clean bite. You've seen that picture. That dog ripped him to shreds.
That was gnarly.
And you know, I appreciate you allowing me to clarify some of these things, and I'm just glad, you know, we're close friends. We've prayed together, we've cried together. As you can imagine, this is stressful on not only just the patient, but Jasmine and
His wife.
their family, his wife Jasmine, and bless their heart. You know, we had patriots out there for 3 days in a row protesting outside, and they got him out of the hospital. I feel like people came out and they raised issue. That news article was very unfortunate that people spread that. We'll have our day to clarify, and I appreciate you having me on to clarify some things on his behalf and the family's behalf, because listen, he just needs medical attention. He literally almost lost his leg because the drama doesn't outweigh patient care, and somehow, I don't know if it's political or what the issue is, but now we have a victim of medical tyranny in America because of ancillary outside issues to do with him being a patriot.
Yeah.
And people
So-
like Officer Helene and others shouldn't target. This guy arrested somebody knowing he was under the wrong name 6 months ago, and now we're having another incident. You know, Troy just wants to remedy the relationship with the police, and we don't, you know, we just want patriots to be able to go out and express themselves without feeling threatened. In America, Troy and I just tell you, listen, we have to stand up for our rights, and there's nothing that's going to intimidate us. Troy's anxious to, you know, get back to his Bible and spend time with his wife and kids, but he wants to be able to spread the gospel to other people. He's not middle, and that you're trying to paint him as something he's not, right? So he's just a God-fearing man that's a leader in his community, and he wants us to continue fighting against our federal government oppression, the tyranny, election issues, and he just wants people to know that he wants to continue the fight for patriotism, and this is not going to deter him.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Bottom line, while the facts are still being sorted out about what happened with police before he went to the hospital, if you watch that 40-minute video, which I linked in my description, of just like what went down with the security saying the doctor is above the Constitution, and you're basically trapped in here against your will without being handed documentation as to why, and now you sit in the hospital for like 8 days and let your leg inflame and rot. Like, that itself is all of the public needs to be aware of. That is uncalled for. It should never happen in America. Then we'll sort out the details of what happened with the cops, but that right there was just out of hand, and I was like, I've got to do a segment on this. This is alarming.
And
so thanks for coming
I
on.
agree. You know, bless your heart. Bless.
I can't hear you. You're cutting out.
me now.
Oh, you
All
just
right.
came on.
Ivory, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you going out against the grain, against the mainstream media, and going and having interest in spotlighting the hero stories and the underdog stories, and the complicated stories, and getting the truth out there. And we really Troy looks up to you. You know, Chadwick and the folks that connected us, we look up to you as a journalist and as a truth teller. And we really appreciate you, asking the tough questions and giving people an opportunity to speak when otherwise normally nobody in the media would really give a hoot. And we really appreciate you, Ivory.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And thanks for speaking on his behalf while he recovers today. And maybe sometime we'll speak to him directly. But all the best to him and his family. And we'll talk to you later. Okay.
God bless. Thank you so much, Ivory, and your audience. Take care. God bless America.
All right. Bye.